It's funny, even right to the phone, I can't see without my glasses.
Me either.
You know what the thing that sucks most about getting old? Getting old.
Yep.
We're a minute early, so we're just going to stall and make stupid small talk for a minute. And we'll find a way as we get more into this to make this more technically correct so that we can have timers up there and you won't have to stare at us bantering for a minute while we're waiting for people to join on. But we'll give it. I know we're a minute early, so we'll allow that minute. If you're late, people who know me know I live by an adage, and I told a preacher this. We were visiting his church. Service was supposed to start at 10, and he introduces himself to us. He said, "Well, we're pretty casual here. We never get started on time." Okay, right there, you've got a problem with me. He said, "We never get started. People, they'll show up 10, 15, 20 minutes late. We get going." I said, "Well, you've trained them well, And then my motto, better never than late. But we'll allow some slack for this here. I'll just sit here and be antsy while I'm waiting." I've got 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So do I. Something that I was thinking about, I was talking to Sue about a thought that sort of spurred. I've got a little church group thing, Still the Church, that we do on Thursday nights. And we were talking about some topics, and I thought, this would be good for you guys for this group here. And it started out of I have a friend, more of an acquaintance. I know him. It's not like we're buds or anything. But years ago, he's in the area. He was watching the Miss Universe pageant with his wife, and then he said out loud, "Man, I couldn't imagine being married to someone that beautiful." That's probably. I think he probably regretted that real quick, with her standing right there. And I got thinking about stupid things that people say. I'm the guiltiest of it. There has been, I don't know how many times where I'll say something, and before the words are out of my mouth, I'm already in slow motion trying to get them back. No, I can't, because the stupidities always come out. So sometimes I'm getting better as I get older at thinking sometimes before I speak. And the dumbest thing I ever said, I was coming out of a funeral home several years back, and the funeral service was over. We were leaving. Well, there was another funeral getting ready to start, and the people are coming into the funeral home, and I recognized the wife. And she said, "Hi, Bob." And she said, "White was her husband who died." I said, "Hey, how's it going?" Oh, she said, "Good." And I realized, our conditioned responses of things that we say that are just dumb. We don't intend them to be dumb. I had, and I won't sit here all morning or afternoon and tell you stories, but I had some hospice clients years ago in another county, and they were, the siblings were in their 50s, and the dad was the patient, and he had passed. I happened to be out of town at that time, so I called them, and I said, "Is there anything I can do?" She said, "Well, could you carpet our bathroom?" And my thought, okay, that's kind of a weird, request. I said, "Well, I'm not very good with seams, so if it's under 12 foot, I know carpet comes in a 12-foot roll. Yeah, I'll do it." She started laughing. I said, "What's so funny?" She said, me and my brother have had so many people say to us, "Is there anything we can do?" that we've said the next person that asks us that dumb question, we're going to ask them if they'll carpet the bathroom. We really didn't think you would do it. I said, "Well, I really am sincere when I want to know if there's something I can do." But I quit asking that question because even though the intent may be well, it puts pressure on the person to come up with something for me to do. You know, it sort of obligates them. If I'm really thinking about them, I will find something that I can do. A friend of mine whose son was in children's hospital, a very serious thing, and this is probably 25 years ago. And I didn't ask him if there's anything I can do. I know that his lawn was a big issue to him. You know, he liked it to be nice. I went over, I just took the lawnmower, went over and started cutting his grass. He looked out the window, and you could just see the relief. He said, everybody's asking me, you know, what they can do. He says, that's what I needed. You know, it's the strangest things that'll give somebody help. But I wanted to bring up, if you've ever heard of the Mandela effect. I talked a little bit about this part on the group. The Mandela effect is there's things that we believe as a society that have become truth that never really existed. And it was termed the Mandela effect because there are people who swear they watched his funeral in the 80s and he died when he was in prison. Well, he died in 2013, you know, and he was not in prison. In fact, he became president, but they don't remember that, and they swear in their minds they believe it's true. I'll give you another example, and I use this one too. If you've ever had Jiffy peanut butter, it's the best peanut butter, you know, that there is. We always got velvet peanut butter, but you know, and I've had, I don't know how many people tell me that, yeah, they've had Jiffy peanut butter and they love it. Well, there's no such thing. It's Jif, but the minds remember Jiffy, so that becomes real to them. And I noticed even I'm going to chaplain, so, you know, I'm going to bring things in that I find in Scripture. And if you were to fill in, and I've asked Sue this, if you were to fill in the blank, in Scripture, in the Bible, the blank will lay down with the lamb.
The lion.
The lion. Everybody's going to say the lion. Although, and that's taken out of Isaiah 11:6. And here's what it really says. The wolf will lay down with the lamb. It doesn't say the lion will lay down with the lamb in Scripture, but in our minds, this has become real to us. And the one that I wanted to get to that has been a problem for me, I've had people say it to me when I'm going through stuff, and I bet you've had people say it to you, trying to help. And they will use a Scripture, and God will not give you any more than you can handle. That sounds good. Problem is it's not in the Bible anywhere. It does talk about that God will not allow you to be tempted. You know, but man, I know that you guys, you know, some of them who I met, you've been through more than you can handle, and you continue to go through it. The reality is life will always, at some point, give us way more than what we can handle. And going back to Scripture, you know, I talked about when Peter called to Jesus, who was walking on the water, and said, Lord, if that's you, bid me to come to you. So he did, and Peter went walking out on the water, but he got his eyes off of Jesus. He began to sink. Now, when he began to sink, and the waves are all around him, he's going down. He's going to drown. Do you think that was more than he could handle? It was absolutely more than he could handle. That's why he cried out the best prayer ever, Lord, save me. You know, I've said, you know, many times if he'd have prayed long, he would have drowned. But it was more than he could handle. Even when he was trying to do the right thing, he was seeking after Jesus, yet he's going down and still sinking. So don't feel guilty if you think that it's overwhelming. It's too much for you. It's more than you can handle, like you've done something wrong. No, the reality is that's just part of life. We have no promise anywhere that we're not going to end up going through more than we can handle. But the good news is you're not going to go through more than you can handle alone. I was talking to Sue, and I know you told me people who have told you things trying to help.
Mm-hmm. So I have two daughters that are, they're actually 31 and 33 now. When they were born, they both appeared to be normal little babies. And, you know, later, around age between 9 months and 1 year old, started seeing some concerning things that had me on alert. I went to my doctor, my pediatrician, and he told me I was being a nervous mom. And, as time went on, it was very apparent that I was right, that there was something going on. And the reality of it was that they are both developmentally disabled. They function probably around age 3. And along the way, we've also had some health issues. And over the years, because this wasn't something that was diagnosed at birth, and I didn't really understand what I was dealing with, and I didn't know where this was going to take us, it was very difficult, and trying to go to understand what was happening, and I would reassure myself with certain things, like when they were young, I used to tell myself, well, at least they don't have seizures. Well, at age 5, they both started having seizures. And a neurologist had told me when my oldest daughter was about 20 months old, they did a Bailey on her. It was a test to determine, where she was, how delayed she was. And he told me that she would probably, her IQ level would be borderline. And so that's kind of what I was expecting. Well, she didn't make it to that IQ level. But along the way, people that knew me and knew the struggles that we were going through would often say, well, what better person to give 2 daughters like that to? And just to give you some background, when I was about 16 or 17, I just started feeling that I was supposed to work with children with special needs. And when I was 18, I moved to Wisconsin, and I worked in a Christian home for 10 years with children and adults that were developmentally disabled. And, I felt that was my calling, and I loved that job, and it was wonderful. But did I love it because I knew someday I was going to have children with disabilities? Did I want to have children with disabilities? Of course not. No mother wants that to happen to their children. But people, well-meaning people who loved me and loved my children and cared deeply for what was happening to us, would say, God chose you because you understand, you are prepared to take care of these children. And I remember so many times just wanting to say, please stop. I don't want to hear that. It's the last thing I want to hear. This is not something that I wanted. It's not something that I even feel prepared for. Nobody's prepared for it. It's you go through this ongoing grieving process, this reoccurring grief with each milestone that, other people whose children are their age are going and doing, and my kids won't do that, So it was it's been a difficult process at times, but I do rely on my faith. I know that as much as I do feel at times that this is way more than I can handle, I also know that God is going to provide a way, and He has provided a way. There's been times when I've been at my wit's end, just feeling like I can't do this anymore. I feel it's such a loss, and so just at times hopeless. But I do believe that, through my faith and knowing that my life is in God's hands, and I do believe that my faith is what has gotten me through a lot of the difficult times. But it is very difficult when people say things, these pat little, responses, and I know they mean well. I know that it's not intended to be hurtful, or, I think sometimes people are just at a loss as to what to say, and so they say those things. And but it can be difficult.
I think oftentimes what we say, the intent is different from the impact. You can apply that to a lot of areas. If I was going to hold the door for a lady, now I'm old-fashioned traditional, I will do that. Now I'll hold the door for a guy too. I may trip him on the way in, but if she's offended by that, like, well, why are you doing that for me? I can handle it myself, and that has happened. I didn't mean anything. My intent was just to be kind or to be polite. The impact was different. So sometimes I need to think more. And friends do this. We have this urgent need. Do we think we got to solve the problem? I'll let you in on a little story. I found out, and I can say this because no one knows. No one knows the other person in this relationship. This was a lot of years ago, but I was told on Father's Day, it was revealed that she was having this long-term affair with my best friend. You could have took a knife and stuck it in my gut. I would have felt better. There's a purpose to this, so bear with me. I went to my friend who was a youth pastor at the time, and he knew about it because he was the one that was going to out her in the situation if she didn't come clean. I went into his office to tell him what happened, and I sat down and I just started bawling. Now, in that situation, there is no prayer he's going to give me, no phrase he's going to say, no scripture he's going to read that's going to make you feel better, like, oh great, well, I was just cheated on, I feel good. Or when you lose somebody, there's nothing that's going to make you feel good, yet we still try because we hate to see someone else hurting, and we make this attempt. And he did the best thing that he could have did. He didn't try to solve it. He put his hand on my shoulder and he said, I love you. And he was just present with me, and that was the most healing. That was the best thing that could have ever happened. And I've learned to cut people slack because I've done this myself, and I know these attempts at helping you can also be reminders of things that you don't want to be, reminded of. And back to the God, not giving us more than we can handle, or life not giving us more than we can handle. Here's the good part. Yep, we're going to have more than we can handle. That I can guarantee you. If you haven't experienced it, and I think you already have, you will. To me, the joy is in the fact that when I'm in those times, there are people who, in that very desperate time, reach in and help me in whatever way. And sometimes it's in ways they don't even realize they're helping. So in the middle of that, like Paul said, it's in my weakness that he's made strong. So that's the good news. Yep, there will be time that you can't handle it, but don't worry. You're not alone in this, and you can always contact us here. And you can always. I'll give you my email. That's real easy to remember. bobthechurchbuilder@gmail.com. You can call here and talk to us. This is why we're here, so you don't have to go through these things alone. You may feel like it. You may feel like you're all alone, and it's different when you're talking to somebody who hasn't been through it, to be able to really carry your pain. And I think I mentioned this morning. I can talk. There's certain things that I know about because I've been through it. Mm-hmm. If I'm talking to someone who's never been through a divorce, they'll try to understand it, and I appreciate that. But unless you've been through it, you don't know the pain. I've watched women talking about childbirth. I know about childbirth. I've seen it done. I've helped deliver babies back when I was running an ambulance years ago. So I've seen it done. But every woman would tell you, yeah, but I don't know childbirth. So there's something different we have in this group that I think if there's a silver lining or a blessing here, we've all had these shared experience. Every experience is different, and it's unique to you, and your experience is your own. But we have something in common that we can, for lack of a better term, carry each other's cross. So be encouraged with that. So again, did you have anything else that you?
No, just I agree with you. People, when I say that people said things that, when they make that statement that, God's not going to give you anything more than you can bear. And it is intended in the kindest and sweetest way. But also, Bob had mentioned that, his pastor friend that just came over and put his arm around him and told him he loved him. I think that's one of the most reassuring things when you're going through a rough time, when you've lost somebody that you love. The people that come alongside you, the people that love you, and there isn't any words that they can say to make it better, but they can be there and stand alongside you. I think that's the most wonderful thing. And so, in the future, when somebody that's going through that difficult time, I think it's just important to remember that our presence and our reassurance of our love is probably the best gift you can give anyone.
That's really good. Well, thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week. And in just a moment, I'm going to do that awkward thing where I stand up and turn the camera off. But before I do that, I wish you peace.